Metro Parks Department announced a critical portion of the Stones River Greenway will be closed for repairs for the next 5 weeks. This is in addition to the closures of the boardwalk and the Stewart's Ferry Pike connector. And while I'm glad that the necessary work is being done on these sections of Nashville's best greenway, it does expose a significant issue. People rely on this greenway for leisure, exercise, and even for commuting into town. And frankly, there is no safe alternative for cyclists to detour around this closure. Realistically, the only option is to ride along Lebanon Pike and north on McGavick until you can reconnect to Two Rivers Park. But I would not recommend this as a safe route to anyone. However, it doesn't have to be this way. NDOT has recommended reducing speed limits along Lebanon Pike to the Traffic and Parking Commission, but reportedly there is opposition from council members Eslick, Huffman, and Gregg. Their main criticisms are that current speed limits aren't enforced and the additional drive time would be burdensome. Let's put these complaints into perspective. First, I completely agree that enforcement needs to improve, but advocating against speed limit reduction because of bad enforcement suffers from a perfectionist fallacy. A doctor wouldn't say it's pointless for a patient with heart disease to start dieting and exercise just because they're never going to become an Olympic athlete. However, vehicle speed has a profound impact on safe conditions for all road users. The AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety found that the average risk of severe injury to a pedestrian increased from 50% at 31 miles per hour to 75% at 39 miles per hour and 90% at 46 miles per hour. So there is a massive safety implications for cyclists and pedestrians. But what about the additional drive time burden? If we look at all of the segments that NDOT mapped out, taking the highest posted speed and comparing it to the suggested new speed, driving along the entire length of the corridor would add less than 4.5 minutes. 4.5 minutes. That is not some great burden to motorists that would drastically change their lives, but getting hit by a vehicle traveling 45 miles per hour versus slower speeds is almost certainly life-changing. And that's not even pointing out the fact that most motorists on Lebanon Pike aren't driving the full length of it on any given trip. They're driving to Old Hickory Boulevard, Central Pike, Stewart's Ferry Pike, Donaldson Pike, and Briley Parkway. So that means their drive time burden is even less. So again, just like motorists need a network of options when a route is closed, so do cyclists. And while I'm certainly not recommending Lebanon Pike as a detour right now, we can make it safer and more friendly for all road users. Step 1 is lowering the speed limits to reasonable levels. So please reach out and email Eslick, Huffman, Gregg, and the Traffic and Parking Commission to vocalize your support for NDOT's recommendations. Ride safe.